Hey, good morning, everybody out there in YouTube land. It is your buddy Chapadong, and instead of today's hyper simple breakdown, let's use the research station in another way and show our VIPs a quick way to do this and show you guys out there that aren't VIPs yet what you're missing. Because I honestly believe this is the best tool in all of MLB DFS. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chapadong. I am a coach, contributor, senior content editor at dfsarmy.com. Basically, one-stop shopping for every DFS sport covered. NBA, PGA, NASCAR, doesn't matter. We're running a couple of contests this week for MLB and again for PGA for the US Open for our VIP members with swag bags thrown on top. So there's no better time than now to jump in and learn a new sport or get better at the sport that you love to play. The link is in the comments section, dfsarmy.com, and use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, to trigger a 20% off discount. The longer you remain a member, the longer your prices stay the same. I mean, they never go up. It's grandfathered in. And the coupon code stays in effect too, so you never have to pay full retail. Anywho, let's dive into the research station today and let's use the hunting homers method of the 200 on 200 that we like to talk about. And then we'll kick into maybe a little bit different to show you. We focused a little bit on pitchers yesterday, so this will even go quicker because it's just bats. I am not necessarily worried on a 15-game slate. Yes, I can find bad pitchers and target them, and I should, but I also might want to be hunting home runs. Where is that power going to come from? And one method that works, it's just one method, just one metric, there are a billion of them that you could do, is using ISO. ISO is raw power. If you go to fangraphs.com, shout out to their site, you can go out there and read the definition in their glossary and figure out the math formulas, how they calculate ISO, everything. It's really just considered a raw power metric. That's it, raw power. No on-base percentage, none of that, no hard contact work, just raw power. So if I'm looking for raw power, leads to home runs, leads to 18 points or 14 on DraftKings, whatever it is, I'm looking for ISO. ISO, the starting pitcher has ISO against him too. This shows the amount of power that the pitcher gives up. And so when I'm looking at that statistic, I'm going to sort this out by descending order in the research station right here on the today's batter matchups tab, and bring all of the big numbers to the top, because generally speaking, over 200 is considered elite power. I mean, 180 is fine. I mean, me personally in softball, I think I hit for like a .040, but in ISO, when it comes to baseball, over 200 is considered elite. So we want elite power. And we want a pitcher that gives up elite power against. That tells me he's not good. He gives a lot of fly balls. He gives up a lot of home runs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this metric, or this research station, is to handedness. So this is the right-handed pitcher and the power he gives up to left-handed bats. A 277 to left-handed bats out of Tyler Beede is bad for Tyler. However, it is great for San Francisco bats today. So Eric Hosmer, or San Diego bats, sorry, he's a San Francisco pitcher. San Diego bats. That's where it can get a little confusing, is flipping back and forth between the teams. But you'll recognize the player names. Hosmer, Garcia, all these guys, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll over just a little bit, and we're going to look for the ISO that the batter displays against the pitcher, against the pitcher's handedness. So Eric Hosmer hits a 174 ISO against right-handed pitching. Well, that's an okay spot. You know, he might hit a home run today because the 277 is definitely giving up a lot of meatballs and a lot of power, and Hosmer has a little bit of power. What we're really looking for, though, is when both numbers are over 200. So if I see a 277 out of the pitcher and a 216 out of the batter, if Josh Naylor gets the start, I'm going to want to start him. Granted, it's a small sample, but I'm going with what I got. Okay, and I'm going to look at this number and say this is what I'm looking for. So when I come down here, the 277 changes to a 272, tells me the pitcher changed. Now we're at Manny Benuelos. So 272 against right-handed bats. He's a left-handed pitcher. He gives up a lot of ISO himself. A 283 out of Anthony Rendon is big. You should roster Anthony Rendon if you're looking for power today. Brian Dozier's interesting at the 162, being a righty on lefty, because he's got better power than that. He's been hot lately too. Kurt Suzuki, though, there's 200 on 200 here, 200 on 200 here. Close with Yan Gomes if he gets the start. down a little bit close with Howie Kendrick. Victor Robles over 200. Again, small sample size for Victor, but still 240 on 270, 230 on 270, 280 on 270. So Rendon, Suzuki, Robles stacked. Done. And when this works out, your stack, like what, Sunday? Minnesota had Sano, Cruz, and I want to say maybe Kepler. All three hit bombs. Buxton hit one too. So, I mean, when it works, that's a great stack to have. So we scroll down here a little bit more, 258, that's Trent Thornton against lefties. So we're looking for ISO against him, 190. Steve Wilkerson is close if he gets the start. You have to always watch these guys and see if they even get the start, but nobody else really to speak of. 256 down here, Brad Peacock. Did you know Brad Peacock gives up a 256 ISO against lefty bats? And look at the power on the lefty side of Milwaukee. Yelich, Shaw, Moustakas, Grandal, Thames. Look at this. 318 for Yelich. That's insane. Yelich, even against Brad Peacock, almost becomes a lock on the slate tonight. 253. Who's that? Travis Shaw? Mike Moustakas, 258, 235, he's Mini Grandal, and there's a 5-stack on DraftKings. Wham! This, you should be licking your chops, especially if you do a little bit of ownership searching today and you find out that people are overlooking Christian Yelich because it's a 15-game slate, or overlooking Milwaukee as a stack because it's a 15-game slate. You should be licking your damn chops in a GPP saying, holy cow, this thing could actually go off. Now, Brad Peacock's a good pitcher. Brad Peacock's not necessarily going to give up 8 runs, but he could. The numbers are there. You've got the strength of the Milwaukee lineup going into the weakness of Peacock's arm. That is a GPP play if I ever saw one. And a single entry GPP play at that. 232, still way over 200. So Soto, maybe Siemens. Okay, now we're back into the Washington bats, right? 200 in Stevenson, that's probably not going to get a start, but I've got Soto at 213, and I go back up here, and I'm looking at Rendon, Suzuki, and Robles, and Soto. And there's my 4-stack on FanDuel. I can build around that. If I come down here to Freddie Peralta in Milwaukee, that's going to put these Houston bats in a decent spot. 216 to lefties, which means Brantley at 195 is okay, Derek Fisher at 188 is okay, and Miles Straw, if he gets to start in a small sample size, has hit for some power so far. If he continues one more game, I'm golden. And I'm getting him at lower ownership. 212, so there's your 240. Nelson Cruz, Mitch Garver, Cron, Sano. It's a Minnesota stack. Are they hitting home runs this year? Scope. Freddie Freeman in Atlanta. So we've already switched teams, but a 178 would be okay. So this is what I'm looking for, is right-handed Minnesota bats against Mike Leake. Scroll down a little bit more and then I'll go show you a couple other things. So 211 here, you've got 213 in Freddie Freeman. Nobody else is really showing significant power against right-handed bats. Doesn't mean an Atlanta stack isn't fine. It just means it's not as good as those others if you're using this metric. 210, 195, Tommy Pham close. Zunino, yes. Avisel Garcia, yes. Christian Arroyo, if he gets the start, is close. 208, you can just go down here, all this list, anything over 200, keep going, and then the 195s are close. You can look for this. When I look for this, I'm looking for big numbers. There's 200 on 200 are very, very close to it. So Christian Stewart, Nico Goodrum won't surprise me if they hit homers tonight. Down here, Castellanos, so a Detroit stack. Christian Stewart, Nico Goodrum, Castellanos, Brandon Dixon, maybe Jacoby Jones. Wouldn't surprise me to run a 5. Now that is a large field GPP play because it's really going to be contrarian, and Detroit has not been a very powerful offense. They're showing signs that it might work. They're going up against a pitcher that might give up some home runs. Here's how you cross-check this stuff. Okay, if I scroll back up to the top and I see my 277 out of Tyler Beede and my 272 out of Manny Benuelos, I come in here to the pitching tab, click these little dots, starting pitching matchups. Now I'm going to look those guys up because I'm going to see some numbers. They should be down here towards the bottom. There's Benuelos. Where's Beede? Who was it? See, I've already got to go back and I've already got to look it up again. Benuelos was one. Yeah, Beatty. Interesting why I didn't see. There he is. Okay, so if I'm looking at Beatty, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to scroll under the pitching numbers, right? Pitching numbers here, pitching numbers here. And I'm going to watch Tyler Beatty, and I'm going to say 71% contact that he allows, 21% is a little bit low for strikeouts, 12% swinging strikes is pretty good, but he's not striking a ton of people out, 35% hard contact against. He's got some good in the ratings, some bad, middling 50.6, value whatever. I'm looking at 29% fly balls, which is actually pretty good. Actually, that's pretty good. But 8.17 walks per nine is ridiculous. He's going to have men on base all over the place tonight. 21% K percent is low. 1.42 home run per nine is actually not very good. So that's weird. For 29% fly balls, giving up a 1.5 almost home runs per nine, his whip is way up there and his SIERA is way up there. This is a pitcher you should be targeting, and we already saw with who. So I scroll down here to Manny Benuelos and I do the same thing. I kind of come across here, look through some of this stuff, a very, very low DFSA grade, low value, whatever, a lot of bad, a 20 in the bad column, getting close to a 20 is bad. I look at 41% fly balls. It's crazy, right? I mean, it's 51%, 47%, sure. But I'm looking at these numbers in conjunction myself because I've already picked up on the ISO in the matchup against him. I'm not just looking for great bats. Great bats going up against Clayton Kershaw or Chris Sale isn't necessarily great, but great bats going up against bad pitching is very, very, very good for fantasy offense. So 41%, 5.58 walks per nine is ridiculously high. 21% is low on the strikeouts. 2.45, almost 2.5 home runs per nine. Who's he going up against again? Washington. That's your Soto, Rendon, Dozier, whatever. A couple of these guys are going to pop one out tonight. Pick the right combination of the stack in that and Minnesota's offense, and you've got something. Or that and who did we look at on the very, very top end? Going up against Beatty, is it San Diego be lower owned? And they didn't have a lot of power to combat. See, that's part of the matchup too. Sorry to keep flipping back and forth, but that's part of the matchup too. You look here at some of these numbers, and the pitcher's giving up a lot, but you look at the batters, ISOs, and there's not a lot to go with. So I would like this matchup a lot stronger, especially since when I scrolled down, I found more Washington down here that I could then go with both sides of the plate. I'm going to be on Washington more than I'm going to be on San Diego today. But when I look at the Benuelos thing, I can see why. 41% fly balls, 5.5 walks per nine. Yes, 8 walks per nine is worse. But we've got better bats to deal with down here, and these numbers are also bad. 21%, 2.45, 1.83 whip, 5.28 SIERA. Yes, Beatty is the worst pitcher, but Benuelos is also bad, and Benuelos is facing a more formidable offense. So instead of just maybe one green light up here and maybe a red or an orange light on the offense, I'm going double green down here. This is how you get better at DFS. And this is how you use some of these tools. You can sort through all these stats, all these numbers. We didn't look at Vegas today. We didn't look at K-score or W-score. We didn't look at anything today other than ISO on ISO and then maybe a little bit of these home run and fly ball type numbers. That's it. If I really wanted to, I can kick over into the Trends Overview tab, and I can look here at Minnesota, right? Minnesota in the last 7 days, 309 WOBA, second best on the slate. Atlanta's running hot. You might want to consider Atlanta. We said they weren't in a terrible spot, but 309 Minnesota hitting all those home runs in a great spot tonight going up against Benuelos, and I would be looking at Buxton, whose ISO is a 444 over the last couple weeks. Now, granted, he doesn't have a high ISO against the handedness of the pitcher, but he's still running hot, and he's hitting balls out. And then I look at Akron, which we did mention, and I look at down here, Castro, if he gets a start, maybe, Polanco, Gonzalez, Kepler, Sano. These are bats I'd be using. Cruz. Cruz is not very high, but Cruz is in a good spot tonight, and he's hitting a 500 ISO over the last 7 days. This is how I start to formulate what guys in those stacks I'm going to want. And then I go pick, I've already picked my pitcher, which I didn't show you today, but I've already picked my pitcher. Now I'm picking my offenses. And I may take one of those lower priced pitchers down in the 8,000 to maybe sevens if I can find it, but in the lower mid $8,000 range that has upside because he's in a great matchup today, facing a team that likes to strike out and has Vegas odds supporting him getting the win, and he's cheap, and I'll forego a Chris Sale type pitcher for him sometimes, and I'll take him and then I'll load up on the big Minnesota bats. I'll take a couple of value plays and then I'll go try and grab some Washington bats too, or whatever. And I'll round out by showing you the Washington numbers just because it's the other offense that we're talking about. Washington's climbing. The 233, they were down here a little bit lower lately. Washington's starting to climb a little bit. So if I'm looking at their ISOs and their L7 WOBAs last 7 days, Eaton, not so great. But look here. Rendon, great. Dozier, great. Kenrick falling off a little bit. Soto falling off a lot. So Soto's in a great ISO on ISO matchup, but he's not hitting the ball really, really well right now. So I might temper my expectations of that. But if I see Dozier, who had kind of decent power, but not great power, but yet is hitting for a 665 right now for WOBA and a 533 ISO, I'm going to roster him over a Soto. First of all, he's cheaper. Second of all, he's running hotter. Third of all, he's in the same damn matchup just about. But I'm going to be running on a Rendon, a Dozier, Kurt Suzuki, which we already said is in a good spot. Those are the three guys that I'm likely to be using because they're running the hottest and they've got the same matchup the other guys do. Now, if I wanted to take a shot on a Matt Adams and make it a 4-stack, take a shot on a Soto because I had a lot of money left over, take a shot on somebody else, go for it. Stevenson, whatever, go for it. Okay, it could work. But these are the three that I'm going to be using, and these are the numbers proving it to me. The ISO's 530, 286, which is still good, and 190, which is right at the 200. So we're fine. Do you see how I'm starting to formulate a game plan, starting to formulate where I'm going to go? I'm going to try and pick 3 offenses or 4 that I really, really like. I'm going to try and pick 2 or 3 pitchers at varying price points that I really, really like. And then I'm going to go build my offense around my stacks, and I will throw the good pitcher in there that fits the price. I'm not punting pitcher. I'm only taking pitchers with great floors and great upside, but I want them at varying price points. And then I'm going to use some value bats that I'm going to find, and I'll show you how I do that in another video someday. And I'm going to use key offensive stacks that are in great spots to hit the crud out of the ball. That's all this is. If you want more coaching like this, like and subscribe to the video. Consider becoming a VIP inside DFSArmy.com. I'll show you how to use all these numbers, all these metrics. This machine will be as complex or as simple as you want it to be. But you've got to be a coach. You've got to be a member to get the coaching that explains this stuff to you. Just staring at these numbers isn't going to get it done. So come on inside DFSArmy.com. Click the link at the bottom there. Use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Trigger that 20% off discount, and let's get you improving your scores and becoming a better player right now. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon.